What is up, guys? We are chilling in the Big Timber Creek trailhead, eating some off-brand Oreos because we just finished doing Crazy Peak. It was a sick day. Stay tuned. Alright guys, I'm going to jump in here and just give a little bit of beta about this peak, but I'm going to try and keep it pretty brief because what's pretty cool about this peak, and honestly most peaks with the exception of all the 14ers I do in Colorado, there's actually not like a ridiculous amount of information about this peak. That being said, everything I'm going to say can be found at other places on the internet. Like, I'm not intending to blow this place up or anything, but so most people that do the west ridge of Crazy Peak approach it from the Blue Lake Basin. On the map right here, you can see this is Blue Lake and then this is Granite Lake. The trail kind of dissipates right between these two lakes because this is where most people backpack. The basin right above these is kind of split into two halves by this subtle ridge line. Now, a lot of people ascend right up this false summit of Crazy Peak. In the springtime, when there's a good amount of snow, this is definitely reasonable, but as soon as the snow is gone, when I was standing at the lakes, I took one look and was like, that looks horrifyingly steep. That being said, I do know that people do it. Shout out to Michael, Ben, and Margaret. A couple years ago, they all went and did it and pretty much ascended right up the false summit to Screefield. I will say, when I was actually up towards the top, I took a look down and like it did look more inviting than it did from the bottom. So like I do understand how people do it. But what I did in contrast was come up the hiker's right half of this basin and gain this ridgeline here on your hiker's right, and then take the whole ridgeline all the way up to Crazy Peak. This definitely adds a little bit of vert mileage and time, but it definitely limits your time in Slide for Life Scree. So to me, it was well worth it. The ridgeline on the way up to Crazy actually to me did look a little bit diesel as I was approaching it. And on the way up, I actually made the mistake of spending a little bit too much time on the hiker's right side of the ridgeline. If you stay true ridgeline, and I did this on the way down, it stays third the whole way. The rock is pretty solid. It's nothing you can't handle. The only other thing I'm going to say in regards to beta is once you get to the top of the falls peak, you hike to the far side of the falls summit, and the third class down climb is not hard to find at all. There's like a couple gullies, but the correct one is the only one that looks like it's received any traffic, and the rock is definitely loose. If you do it kind of more in the springtime when there's snow, I'm sure it's not very hard to kick steps down. Once all that snow is gone, the rock quality is not super great. But like I said, not hard to find. And then once you're there, you're darn near at the peak. But yeah, go ahead and get after it. I just made it to this little alpine lake here. You can see the falls peak is behind this. What we're gonna do is ascend these slopes and then this ridge line, and then we'll be cruising on the back side of this all the way to the top of Crazy. Let's go. I am so hyped. What a day. Let's go. Let's go. We made it up here at the top of Crazy Peak. What a sick day. I'm so hyped. So I pulled out Peak Visor. Let me point out some stuff. So this is Idding's Peak. Ben did that back in the day. I don't have any plans to repeat that. That thing's pretty gnarly, but shout out to him. This is the Dogtooth and the Incisor. Ooh, sorry about the wind. So this is Conical Peak. This is Big Timber Peak. And then, let's see. Kind of hazy, but Granite is out that way. The Absarokas are back here. And the Bridgers are actually right behind Iddings. Can't quite make it on the GoPro, but you can actually see Sacramento. But let's go. It was freaking super sick day. Had a super fun time. If you ascended the exact way I came, I clocked it right at 7 miles, and it took me 4 hours to get up here. So definitely not a short day. Yeah, super hype, sick day. Sit here and enjoy it for a sec, and then start back on the descent. So this couloir is definitely the top part because the rock is so Jerry. All right, guys, we just got back to the parking lot. Had a super fun day out there doing Crazy Peak. It was such a sick day. I clocked it right at 14 miles and 6,400 vert. Now, mind you, I did take like the longer approach to the ridge line. If you do the direct route right up to the false summit, I think it should be more like 11 and a half, 12 miles and 52 or 5,300 vert. So my way definitely added a little bit, but my route definitely minimizes your time on Slide for Life Scree. So I would promote that way, but you know, everyone can choose their own adventure. Overall, it was a really sick day. The scrambling was pretty fun. The peak was absolutely beautiful. It was so sick to see the view of the whole range. Definitely was a little windy. I actually low-key almost bailed at one point because it was getting really windy right at like the narrowest part of the ridge, but we made it through. It was still super sick, worked out. There was a ton of those alpine spiders. I forget what those are called, but those things are pretty annoying. They always make their webs exactly where you want to walk, but you know, say la vie. Awesome day up here in the Crazies. I had so much fun. Hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, we'll see you guys later.